serve.
First things first, who's in more need of a title this year for their legacy, LeBron or Brady? Jared Goff taking a parting shot at the Rams after this weekend's blockbuster trade. And does Matthew Stafford make LA instant Super Bowl contenders for next season? Super Bowl, guys. Good Monday morning, everyone. Welcome to First Things First. I'm Jenna Wolf alongside Nick Wright, Brandon Marshall, Kevin Wilds. Nick, who won the big trade from this weekend?
Oh, the Nets, I think. I think they added a defensive stopper. He just hasn't shown up yet. Okay. I think they won the trade. Oh, we're doing the football trade. Oh, my bad.
That's not the,
my bad.
Hey,
that's not
Nick's
the question.
right. Anytime the worst team in the league takes out the team, some have winning it all. Let's do it. Nets and Wizards.
Oh, no.
Wizards down 5. 7 seconds left. Here we go. Bradley Beal cuts it to 2. Then Russ off the inbounds. The steal, that's a 3. That gives Washington the lead. Just an absolutely unbelievable sequence here. Shades of who? Reggie Miller. But wait, one last chance for Brooklyn.
Get it to KD.
Get it up. No, can't do that. Rolls off the rim and out. Washington wins. Nets lose. Here is Kevin Durant on yet another defensive collapse for the Brooklyn Nets.
I think we'll continue to keep getting better, man. I mean, it's a tough one. We gave up 149 points, 108 shots for them. It's not looking great for us defensively, giving up that many points. But I got faith in our team and our guys, and, we're going to start to put it together on both sides of the ball and, continue to keep growing, man. That's all we can do.
Down the stretch, we had that game. It should have been ours, so... we just look at ourselves in the mirror and just see where we can correct as individuals and as a group, just especially on the effort. I couldn't guard a stick today. Those guys were just going right around me, and, I was getting frustrated a little bit, but they kept attacking, and that's what good teams do and good scorers do. So.
All right, Nick. Nick wildly entertained from this one. Did last night show you the Nets cannot be considered title contenders? Nick Wright?
Yikes. This is a tough one, ladies and gentlemen, because Adam Silver's had to do a lot of, chicanery, machinations, things to try to make this season work. But the one thing the Nets have requested, filed a petition, and asked him to do, he refuses to, and that is officially make it a make-it-take-it league. Because the make-it-take-it Nets might be the best team I've ever seen. But unless that adjustment comes, we might be in a little trouble, boys and girls. 149 is bad. 149 to the, at the time, 3-win Wizards is horribly bad. But what if I told you, Brandon, it actually was worse than that? Because in the fourth quarter, they allowed 48. That's a pace of 196 points. And in the final 6 minutes of the fourth quarter, 5.5 to be exact, they allowed 30. That's a 261-point pace. The Nets are setting new standards for defensive incompetence, and everyone on the team knows it. Now, luckily, Brandon, they have defensive stalwarts Steve Nash and Mike D'Antoni to look to fix this problem. So I'm sure they'll get it right, and I hear Iman Shumpert's coming through the door. So I think they'll be good. But right now, Brandon, Brandon's doing a pantomime of the Nets' defense last night. That was their defensive effort. Falling asleep, letting people run past them. So, yeah, I think they're in trouble, man. I think they're in a little bit of trouble, Brandon.
Or are they sleepwalking through the regular season?
Wake me up in 6 weeks. That's what you need to do. That's when this season's going to start. That's when the NBA season really starts. There's only a handful of teams that really play from start to finish every single night. There's only a couple teams. LeBron James and the Lakers, they're just really good. They have the chemistry down. They have the guys. They're light years ahead. This James Harden trade happened 10 games ago. The big three been together for 4 games, Nick. So wake me up in mid-March and let's have the discussion about where this team is now. We know where we need to be. I talked to someone inside the Nets organization a couple weeks ago because I'm like, man, look, this Nick Wright guy keep talking about defense, defense, defense. And he said, look, Brandon, we know how to get to the conference finals. These guys know how to play enough defense to get there. They know how to play enough defense and play good defense to get to the finals. The question is, do they have enough to actually win it? So it's cool to hear Kyrie talk about, look, I played bad. We know where we need to be. Kevin Durant highlighting that. This isn't a team. This isn't a group of superstars. Like, look, we're just going to win on offense. They'll get it together. And I love what I'm seeing right now. I love the ball movement. That was a big question mark, Kevin. Will this team be able to share the basketball? And then also you got guys that's really doing it at a high level without KD, without Harden, and that's very, very good for the Brooklyn Nets. So, wow. Every time the Nets lose, I know we're going to have this discussion. I understand that. But please wake me up in mid-March.
Okay, I like it, Brandon. You know what? Your Brooklyn Nets jersey might be an extra small, but your heart is an extra large, my friend, because you're showing more faith than I think anyone else has. Nick, I think there's 3 problems with the Nets: pride, paint, and personnel. First one is the pride. Steve Nash said after the game, he's like, basically, we don't want it. The most important thing is individual pride, making every possession count and mean something. I think too many possessions for us didn't mean enough. So it's like, guys, just step up. It's just a pride thing and it's fixable. Second one is paint. The Wizards scored 72 in the paints. DeAndre Jordan of old is not walking through that door. The DeAndre Jordan of the present day is, and he's not that great. The third problem is personnel, and Nick, you mentioned it. Iman Shumpert, who, by the way, watch out, Dame Lillard. Iman Shumpert can rap better than anyone else in the league. Can also play a little bit of defense, but probably not the stopper. Norvell Pell is coming, international player. Had a little cup of coffee with the Sixers.
McGee.
He's going to be all right. And you know this one. There's reports that podcaster extraordinaire JJ Redick is also might join the Nets. Not great on defense, good for podcasting. Also lives in Brooklyn. And finally, Nick, I'm going to throw it to you here. TV. Sports analysis traffics in the extremes, and we're all guilty of it because that's what kind of moves the meter. You got to say this is the best ever, this is the worst ever, da-da-da. So you came on, you said this team is going to be the worst ever, and it's like, well, there goes Nick again with their hyperbole. Next thing you know, according to old StatMuse, the Nets defensive rating 119.9, worst in the league, and would be worst of all time. So here are your flowers, my friend. They're imaginary, but it was not hyperbole. You were just being literal that they would be the worst defensive team of all time.
Wow.
This is the problem with, and to be fair, I don't know if I quite said they'd be the worst defensive team of all time. What I said was, if they were to make the finals or win the championship, they would be far and away the worst champion defensively ever. But right now, Wildes is right. Since the trade, they are just the worst anything defensively ever. Here's the problem. They don't need a minor tweak. They aren't an Iman Shumpert, an international guy I've never heard of, and a JaVale McGee away. They are, right now, the worst defensive team in the league. They need to improve on that end by leaps and bounds. And that, to me, is not possible. They do. You can't, Brandon.
So, Nick,
they
you take a guy.
So, Nick, you take a team. Go ahead. Go ahead, Brandon.
You take a team, Nick.
Go ahead.
That's only played together, like the big three's only been together for 4 games, right? And we know what they can do offensively. Friday, they scored like 149 points. Last night, the same thing. So when you think about defense, you think about just the culture around the NBA. Guys don't play defense until the playoff time. There's only a handful of teams that actually do it. So when you think about these guys having what it takes to get the job done later on in the season, in the playoffs, in the championship, like that's more than enough. We know that it comes down to want to. This has nothing to do with ability. We're not asking for these guys to be a top 5 defense. We're just asking just to get a few stops. And that's want to, and that's attitude. And I think they'll be able to do that come mid-March.
Yeah, so a couple things. One is, even if I accept the premise that only a handful of teams really care about defense, again, then everyone is playing to that level. And with everyone playing somewhat lackadaisical on defense, the Nets are still the worst. That's first of all. Second of all, maybe if it was like, listen, the Nets are allowing 120 points per game, but they're locking down in the critical possessions in the fourth quarter, and that's showing you they could do it for a full 48. I'd buy it. But that's not the case. It's getting worse as the game gets to a more critical moment. And lastly, Kyrie can say, I couldn't guard a stick last night. Replace last night with since Duke. Like, Kyrie, it's not about want to. It's accountability.
And we're still sitting second in the Eastern Conference. So, I mean, we're still right where we need to be.
Say it, Brandon. Miss me with that. You could say it. We're getting hyperbolic on a Monday morning here. To the NFL now and the fallout from the blockbuster Jared Goff, Matt Stafford trade. This you will want to hear. This is coming up next. This is First Things First. It's